Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Book Links event for Australia Reads. This session is going to give you a little bit of an insight into how illustrators create the pictures and how the pictures tell the stories as much as the words. I'd like to introduce you first to Carolyn Magerl. Carolyn has not illustrated and written the book Nop, which was an honour book in this year's CBCA Book of the Year Award in the picture book category. And the book has just been nominated for the Kate Greenaway Medal in England, which is very exciting. I do hope it makes the shortlist. Carolyn, do you want me to begin by showing the video?
What I'd like to do is, I've just got a little preamble.
Okay.
And then I would like to go into the video. So that'll just take a couple of minutes.
Okay, you just tell me when to hit the play.
You can go right on ahead now.
Oh, no. Don't you have a preamble?
No, I've got the preamble. So can I start that now?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Hello, everybody. Hello. So, do you know the difference between storybooks and picture books? There is a difference, and I'd like to explain that. So, for example, this is Alice in Wonderland. Now, this is an example of a storybook. You can see that basically you don't need pictures to understand this story. This is a book in which the words carry the whole story. Now, a picture book is one in which the pictures are very important to carrying the story. In fact, something like this, Quentin Blake's Clown, has absolutely no words at all, but you can read the whole story in pictures. Now, my book, Nop, is one in which there are both words and images, and they both carry the story. So Nop is a story in which a little bear is stuck in a place called the Dumporium. I want to show you a 15-minute video in which I will paint just one scene from the story of Nop. And as I am painting, I would like to tell you of the story behind the picture, if I may. So that is a 15-minute video, and there's questions after if you like. So over to you, Jenny.
We read words, we read images. Words make up our spoken language. Images have a language too, a language that uses colours and shapes, content and mood. All of these things make meaning. It takes time to paint an image, but what is amazing is that we can read it all at once, at a glance. He is a fuzzy little creature. He's a nice shade of buttery yellow. I think it's Nop. He's holding his feet like a very small child does, maybe to comfort himself. He's quite alone. I wish I could help. And this space around him, it's chaotic, it's jumbled. Things are piled up, not carefully placed. Is that a window? And what's this stuff Boxes, crates, makes me want to sneeze just looking at it. All this stuff, it's unsorted, uncared for. The value of these things is uncertain, like nothing here matters to anyone. Maybe there are treasures here, but who would know? This is not a little boutique. The things here are not placed on shelves with a pretty tag to tell you what they're worth. There's no pleasant shop assistant to tell you the story of the things for sale. This is the Dumporium, Oddment's Dumporium. I don't think Mr. Oddment even knows there's a little bear on one of the many heaping heaps of goods, old and rumpled. No, this is a place where you might get lost, very lost, and wander about through the dusty mountains forever. If you ever got lost in a department store, you'd know how Nop felt. At the moment you know you're lost, you're suddenly very small and the world around you is as big as the universe. And if you did get lost, you might climb up high to get a view. And so Nop sits high on a heaping heap. But what does he see? A window, a grand window that lets the light in. Maybe it would let not out. It's a high window. Things are not so simple. What Nop needs is a plan, an idea. An idea is hard to think of in this unlit and lonely place. He's sitting because he's waiting for a thought. But he's stuck just now. He's stuck just looking at chairs and junk, waiting for an idea. And an idea can be frustrating to wait for, and his head feels woollier than usual. Perhaps if this illustrator stopped drawing all this rubbish. But it's clear that Nop wants to be somewhere else. Lanterns float over Nop's head, big paper lanterns, beautiful and out of reach. It's getting darker outside, but Nop never takes his eyes from the window, and those lovely lanterns float like clouds. I lived in an industrial area once, a place that had once been farms, now full of large and smelly factories, dusty roads and litter, a place where no one wanted to live. I learned to love clouds there, those big amazing clouds that look like giant meringues. I loved looking at the sky because when you look up at the sky, you can be anywhere, someplace wonderful even. It's getting gloomier in the Dumporium, a little darker. a little dustier. But those lanterns are shining bright, and all the while the illustrator keeps drawing all this rubbish, and Nop keeps thinking and thinking. He's thinking about that window, that sea green window, and the longer he looks, the clearer his plan becomes. Perhaps it's time that we saw this little bear more clearly. A bit of ink here, a bit of ink there. He's not plush in places. No button, no ribbon, no scarf or spangle. And he sits on that heaping heap. There's an umbrella, cupboards, crates, wheels, chairs, more stuff, a bicycle. Don't know what the boat's doing there. Darker and dustier. A few more shadows. and a bit more light. Those little speckles, like little tea lights, lighting up. You know, those paper lanterns might even have given Nop the idea he needed. A balloon, something that could take a little bear up and out of that big sea green window to his great chance of adventure. A life outside the Dumporium. Nop does fly away from the Oddminster Dumporium in a balloon he made himself. I love that part of the story. When I was writing Nop, I got to that part of the story and I was up there with him, up in the clouds. For a while I wasn't even sure when or where we might come down. When Nop flies away, he is a small speck in the world, but there's an important difference. He had an idea in his head. A picture can tell us so much at a glance. We understand images before we even put them into words. We all read images. It's a language we all know.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carolyn. That was absolutely superb.
So I'm just going to answer a question here. Do I use pastels? Yes, I do use, occasionally I use pastels after the paint has dried. It gives a little bit of an opaque feel to something like, with watercolor obviously it's transparent. It's nice sometimes to have something opaque like an opaque pastel. It makes it a bit more 3D. So you have loose brush strokes. Can you cover up mistakes or play around with shapes to help you plan? Well, with watercolor, the rotten thing is you can't cover up your mistakes. So you pretty much have to plan it so that you have every chance of doing it at one go without mistakes. So a good question, actually. We have a few questions. How did you come up with the idea for Nop? How long did it take for you to make the book? Okay, the idea for Nop came from a toy that my daughter had made. She made this really rough little bear as a bit of a joke. And, oh, here he is. She is. This is the bear that she made. And it was such a tragic attempt at sewing that I eventually fell in love with this bear and thought I'd write a story about him. So that's one of the story came from different memories and different ideas, but that bear was basically how I started Nop. And it took years, because it took me years to really work out what the story would be. Picture books are seemingly simple. They're only 32 pages and frequently only about 300 words, but it's the idea that's in them that needs a lot of work. It needs to work well, because you can't, every word basically counts. When you have so few words, you can't really fluff around too much. So that's it took years basically to do. How much paper did I go through? How much paper? Oh, well, I buy my paper in big blocks because I make mistakes. And when I do make mistakes, I have to basically take that piece of paper and use it for Christmas cards. So almost everyone I know who gets a Christmas card from me gets a card that of an illustration that's that I've had to cut up because I've made a mess. So yes, I use a lot of paper, and each basically I get 2 illustrations out of a whole sheet of Archer's watercolor paper. And if I do well, I don't waste too much. But unfortunately, there are some moments when I make mistakes. The paper that I use, as I just said, is Archer's. It's a French paper. It's not actually paper. It's called cotton rag. It's made of cotton, and it's rather it's a beautiful paper. I use smooth, not rough, because I like to use pen and ink. You probably saw me using it in the video, and you need a fairly smooth paper to use that pen and ink, that nib, that old-fashioned nib on there. So that's what I use, and I've used it for years. It seems to work for me. There's all kinds of paper, though. Really good fun to investigate all the kinds of paper there are. So yeah, any other questions from anybody? How are we going for time? The nibs. Do I have to change them, or do I keep the same nib? I've got about 50 nibs, and I've kept them for years. I take care of them, I clean them, I oil them, and when they finally bend and no longer function, it's a very sad day, because they're beautiful things. I do enjoy the old-fashioned dipping pen. So yeah, I use the same pen over and over and over until finally it dies. So yeah, it's a real staple of my workroom. So I got a lot of equipment. I use all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Any other questions from anybody? No? Okay, how are we going for time, Jenny?
We've got about 4 minutes.
Okie dokie.
But we'll just...
Okay, well, what I'd like to do then is perhaps show a few of the books that I grew up with. These are the books that inspired me when I was little. So as you can see, it's this sort of work. My grandma sent them to me when I was little from Germany. So they're actually from the old communist bloc. Really interesting, really, really tatty, and I treasure them. Poor things, I don't know how long they'll last, but yeah, these are the books that inspired me when I was little. Snow White and Rose Red, as you can see. Schneeweichen oder Rosenrot. This one I loved a lot when I was little. Das Tierhäuschen, or whatever it's called. Oh, I'm losing my ability to speak German. Yeah, I loved it. And again, a lot of the techniques that I use now, I kind of learned from these books. This is watercolor, and it's lovely. Hope you can see it. Yeah, and I fell in love with watercolor from looking at these books, and that's what really led me on to becoming an illustrator. Picture books was the one thing that that made me want to paint. So yeah, very important. Pay attention to the pictures and stories. Okay, I see if I can get a clever friend. All right. Yes, I'm just reading the message there. Watercolor in tubes. Yes, I do use watercolor in tubes. I don't use the dry pan ones. I find the ones in tube last a long, long time, as long as you screw the cap on properly. And yeah, they're great. So I've used them for years, and they've served me well. Yeah, so anything
Okay, well, if there are no more questions, we are pretty close to the end of your time. Thank you so much, Carolyn. That really was inspiring. And I just hope I can get the video with sound edited into it so that people can see it later.
Yeah, it was all there. I don't know what happened. I'm very sorry, Jenny.
That's okay. I usually play a YouTube video and it works. I've done it before, so I don't know what.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're
Yeah.
gonna check it out. I'm so sorry if it's us. I apologize.
Yeah, okay. So
Thank you so
now
much,
I'd
Jenny.
like to, thank you. Bye, Caroline. Now I'd like to introduce Anil Tortop. Anil Tortop is a prolific illustrator. She illustrates for many different authors. This year she was shortlisted for the book Bat versus Poss. Anil, would you like to unmute yourself and have a chat to us?
Hello. Hi, nice to be here. So let me show you some of my books. As Jenny said, I've been illustrating for a while now. Can you see my screen? So these are some of the books I illustrated so far. But today I'm going to talk about Bat versus Poss, the book Jenny has just mentioned. So this is a story about sharing and making friends. Mick the possum and her 3 sisters live in that tree, along with some other animals. But one day, Squabbles the bat moves in and disturbs the neighborhood. So all the residents come together and make a plan to get rid of the Squabbles. I'm not giving any more spoilers for in case you haven't read the book, but I'm going to show you one more illustration, this time as a video to show my process. So that's how I make an illustration, only in 40 minutes, 40 seconds or something. So easy. I believe you don't believe me, and I'm going to start from the beginning and to tell you how I'm illustrating a book, if I can. Yep. So everything starts with the story. The publisher sends me the story, then I do some research and I put my ideas down into those little thumbnails into my storyboard notebook. That's called storyboarding. And at this stage, it's all about the visual storytelling. So as Caroline also mentioned, in picture books, we illustrators tell a story. And at this stage, I decide my visual story. But as you can see, it's too messy. And making a book is a teamwork. So I have to tell my teammates what I'm planning to tell. Because of this reason, I tidy up my lines a little bit and send this storyboard to my publisher. And they and the author have a look at them and we decide what I'm going to tell visually in this book. So after we are done with this step, before going to the sketch, I do lots of research again. I collect lots of images from the Google. And I use those images as references. But for this particular book, I had a challenge, which is the tree. So everything is happening in this tree. And I had to draw this tree from different angles, and it had to be consistent. I found it really challenging. So I made a little tree model out of wires and yarn. I don't know if you can see, but it's that little. And I put little doors on it to see where my characters will be sitting, etc. And I photographed it from different angles, then used them as references in my sketches. It worked out pretty well eventually, and it was fun. So after all those researches, I do my sketches. At this step, I decide about the details. What exactly will be in this picture? So these details include the facial expressions of the characters, all characteristics, little objects, decorations around it. So everything, but it's still messy. So as the final step, I clean them up. I actually redraw with clean lines. So you can see the difference, sketch and the clean up version. Then the final step is the coloring in. So that is the step you watched in the video. It was the only last step, but it actually much more than that, as you can see. Then after I finish all the illustrations, I sent them to the publisher and they work on it. The designer put everything together with the text. Then they send it to the printer and we can read the book in print version. So that is briefly my process. Now, if you want, if you have a paper and pencil, we can practice drawing the scribbles. If you don't have, you can try it later. I can just show it you now. And this is my drawing tablet. I draw almost everything using my tablet. Apart from the storyboarding, it's in my notebook. So to draw scribbles, I start with a really big exclamation mark of shape, something like that. But it's a very loose line. I don't want it to be too visible because I will be drawing something else on top of it. Then I add 2 pointy ears here. Then in the end, at the bottom, 2 legs and 8. So it's not looking like a bat at the moment. So I'm going to do it, its arm wide open so we can see all the wing details. It actually starts like a normal arm, just goes sideways. Then he has a little thumb. Then he has 3 little, really long, not little, fingers like that. And in between those fingers, there's a skin. This skin goes up to the ankle and it becomes the wing. Same thing at the other side. It goes to sideways, just a little thumb, 3 really long fingers, and the skin in between them to the ankle. This is the other wing. You can add it underarm like that. Now he needs a face. A big round nose with 2 nostrils. So I'm going to draw kind of a cheeky bat. Something like that. So facial expressions are really important in illustrations, I think, because they tell how the characters are feeling. And it's a part of the story, so I find it really important and I pay a lot of attention to it. What's the mouth? And 4 pointed teeth. Almost done. Now we need lots of hair because it's a hairy character, not at the wings though. See, you don't see the loose line, light line that we drew it at the beginning. So lots of hair everywhere. And some hairs can go curly like that, just for fun. And that is basically the scribbles. Let's draw one more time, another one. This time I'm going to make it arms closed and hanging down upside a tree quickly. So again, starts with the big exclamation mark. Ears And legs, this time I will be making them closed. And when they close their wings, they kind of look like they hug themselves. So one shoulder is here, one shoulder is here, and his arm goes from this side to the other, like hugging himself. And this one goes like that. Again, one little thumb here, two and three really long fingers. And this goes down to the ankle. The nose again with the nostrils. This time I'm making it sleepy. Like that. Oh, it's not hanging down, up, down the tree. We can just rotate the paper and it would fix the problem. Oh, it's not rotated on this screen. So I have two screens and they are showing different things. I guess it's now rotated. Then you can add all little details like the branch, leaves, maybe the tree. Oh, and hair. I forgot the fur. So since it's hanging down, the hair can go down as well because of the gravity. Then you can color in the wings to black. I'm not going to color it now because we don't have that much time. Just briefly like that. Something like that. Oh, the coloring looking really bad here. So in real life, I can draw a little better than that. But hope you enjoyed drawing with me. If you did, and I would love to see some of your drawings. That would be great. And that's how I do illustrations. Now, if you have any questions.
There was one question. Why don't I just see if I can spot it again? Is the final colouring step in Photoshop?
Yes, it's in Photoshop.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions in the chat room?
I think no. I'm just. So if there is not any questions and if we still have time, I can show you more videos of the coloring process if you like.
Oh, there's one. How long have you studied art?
I started studying art at high school back in Turkey. So it was 4 years. Then I studied animation at uni. It was again another 4 years. So 8 in total. We'll find other videos. That screen. I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, there's another question. Are you working on a picture book for 2021? So I'm nowadays very busy with the baby. So no more books for this year. But it's 2020, so you are asking for the next year. Yes, I have 2 other picture books on the pipeline for the next year. I will be working on them, hopefully, if the baby allows me. I have one more if we still have time. Well, we already watched this, didn't we? Yeah. Oh, this music is scary. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
So at my end, Anil, that was just showing the cover of the book, not showing a video.
Ah, you didn't see the video?
No.
Oh, I just played 2 videos. Uh-oh. Let me try it again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Did I play it when I played in the beginning? I'm not sure.
No, that was fine.
So do you want to see another one or any more questions or anything else?
There is a question there. What books or art inspired you as a child?
Oh, it's a difficult question for me because as a child, I didn't like reading. I started reading much later. So unfortunately, there is not any book that inspired me. My partner just brought some books. So these are not the inspirations, but when I was a child, these are the kind of only books that we can see, we can read. So can you see the illustrations?
Yeah.
These are so simple. These are actually the books to learn how to read. So we didn't have any picture books. So I found books.
So no pictures to inspire you then?
No, I discovered children's books much later. Than as soon as I discovered, I started illustrating. So it's a sad story.
Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, maybe we'll finish the session early. Any more for Caroline or for Anil?
Oh, lunch.
Ah, they
Nice
have to go out for lunch. Okay. So will you be more inspired now that you're a mum? That's
Hopefully.
a good thing. Okay. All right, well, thank you everyone for participating in this session. A special thank you to Carolyn for making that wonderful video for us, and for Anil to share with us so that we could see the process. I'm still absolutely in awe of that huge tablets. Just point to it beside you so they can see,
Yeah.
Anil. That's what she uses to draw on, that huge, great tablet. What a difference it is between the way Carolyn creates her artwork and the way Anil creates hers.
Yeah, totally different.
Very, very different, and different styles and everything. Okay, so this is the end of our session. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.